Hey everybody, what's going on? You guys doing alright? Okay, I hope you're all doing very well. So, tonight I wanted to share with you guys a story about something that happened to me a long, long time ago. Scary story, ghost story, if you will. It's a true story. It really happened to me, and I thought you guys might want to hear about it, okay? First things first, you guys sit back, okay, relax if you can, okay? Put your feet up. Take it easy for a while. You just hang out with me and I'll tell you my story, okay? So it starts out, I'm about 19, 20 years old, and I was looking for an apartment or a duplex, something of that nature. Obviously, something I could afford, but I wanted to make sure it was close to my work as well, so that way I wouldn't really have to worry about work and whatnot. So I found the perfect place. It was about 10 or 15 minutes away from my work, and price was right. It's a middle-aged couple owned it. They had children that were grown and moved out, so it was just the two of them. They lived downstairs, and they were renting out the upstairs apartment. So they gave me an address and time to be there so I could go over there and meet them, and they could show me around. So I I drove over there, and when I pulled up in the driveway, the two of them were standing in the garage talking, and I didn't think much of it at the time, so I parked my car and got out and walked up to them and introduced myself. And the one thing I really noticed though was that the garage was in perfect condition. There were hundreds and hundreds of tools lined up on the shelves, and these tools were like brand new. They were spotless. There were power tools. The floor was swept up nice and neat. It was probably the cleanest, most beautiful garage I'd ever seen. So I automatically thought that the husband was a mechanic just by looking at this garage. So I asked him, I'm like, wow, this garage is beautiful. Are you a mechanic? And then the wife spoke up and she says, no, he's not the mechanic. My dad was. He just loved this garage, and he died a couple years ago. She's like, don't worry about it though. You'll see him around from time to time. And I'm thinking, wow, that was a weird thing to say, to a perfect stranger. But again, I really didn't think too much about it. So they took me upstairs and showed me around, and I just fell in love with the place. It was beautiful. It was everything I needed. I was all by myself, so I didn't need a whole lot anyway. Just really just a bed to sleep in and a refrigerator and a stove, and I was good. So well, everything was going great for about 4 or 5 weeks. I just loved my new apartment. The backyard, it was such a nice backyard. It was a beautiful lawn, and the lawn went down, and there was this little hillside that sloped down into a creek that ran through there. I just loved it. It was awesome. So, well, the couple that lived downstairs, they were out for the night, and I was going out as well. So I left. And have you guys ever done that where you leave and you shut the door and then you realize you don't have your keys? That's what happened to me that night. I left and I shut the door, and oh, darn it, my keys were inside. So and I couldn't get back in. So, well, there were two ways to get in this apartment. It was the front door, which was the door I walked out of. You walk in the main entryway, and you walk straight ahead, and that was the door to the first floor apartment. And then there were some steps that went up to the second floor apartment, and that's where I was standing up on the balcony. I couldn't get in, and I'm thinking, darn it. And I knew the couple downstairs was gone for the night, so the only other way to get into my apartment was around back. There was this staircase that went all the way up to this little balcony that was up there. So I'm figuring, well, if I go up onto the balcony, there was a door that went into the kitchen there, and there was two windows. So I'm figuring if I go up on that balcony, I can maybe pry open a window or jimmy the back door or something, because I had to get back in the apartment. So I tried the door. Door was locked tight. I couldn't get in. So I figured I'd maybe pry open one of these windows and crawl in. Well, the garage had this big spotlight on it, and the spotlight was shining on the back of the house. And I didn't even have curtains on the windows yet. The windows were just bare, so I went over to try and pry up one of the windows. And like I said, that was the kitchen area there. It was so pitch dark inside that kitchen, I couldn't see a thing. And then I did see something. There was like smoke or fog forming inside the kitchen. It was like fog inside the kitchen. I'm like, what the heck? And I was amazed at what I was seeing. It's scared yet amazed at the same time. And the fog came together and it formed a man's face right inside that window. His face was this close to mine, a ghostly face looking right at me from inside that kitchen. I was so scared. I ran down those steps as fast as I could, down the backyard, down the hill. I ran through the creek. I fell in the creek. I'm soaking wet. And I ran as fast as I could to my friend Ed's house. Ed lived a couple blocks away. And so I told him what happened, and sure enough, he thought I was seeing things or imagining things, and I knew I wasn't. I know what I saw. It was that ghostly face staring right at me. So I still have the problem. I'm locked out of the apartment. Now I'm almost afraid to go back, So anyway, I knew I had to go back because, that was my apartment. That was my home. So, so back then, we didn't have cell phones or, and a phone in our pocket at all times. So I just sat over at my friend Ed's house, and I kept calling the landlord like every half an hour and trying to get a hold of him so I could tell him, I locked my keys out. I was almost kind of embarrassed to tell him about the ghost story, but I figured why not, because that must have been what they were talking about. So anyway, I finally got a hold of him. I went back, told him what had happened, and the wife explained to me, she's like, that those are the types of things that happen around here. He's harmless. He's not going to hurt you. It's he just still kind of roams around the house from time to time. So I'm thinking, great. I finally got this apartment out of myself. I just love it. And it's got a ghost in there. So, anyway, I went back, kept going to work every day, doing the things that I love to do, and everything was fine for a couple weeks. So one night I'm laying in bed, just relaxing, ready to fall asleep, and that back room where the kitchen was, off the kitchen there's just this big long hallway with a bedroom off to the left, and then the bathroom was the next left. Going straight forward was the big living room, and then there was one more bedroom off to the left there, just past the bathroom, and that was my bedroom where I slept. So I'm laying in bed. It's so quiet, you could hear a pin drop. And I'm trying to get situated. You know how it is when you first lay down, most of the time you're not even tired at all, but you go to bed anyway because you have to and you need your sleep. So I'm laying in bed and I hear these footsteps inside my apartment coming down the hallway. Boom, 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 boom. Getting closer and closer to my room. Heavy footsteps, like a man's footsteps. So I got up out of bed. I tore my whole entire apartment apart looking for somebody. I was actually hoping to find somebody had broken in or something, but because I was afraid it was that ghost again. And of course, nobody was in the house. I couldn't find anybody, so again, I thought maybe I was imagining things, so I went back to bed. Sure enough, the second I started to relax and just calm myself, those footsteps started again. Coming right down the hallway. Boom, boom, heavy footsteps. Boom, boom. They walked right into my room. Right into my room. And at this point in time, I was just paralyzed with fear. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't move. And it was so dark in that room. And I could see a ghostly shadow standing right next to my bed. Even though it was pitch dark in that room, that shadow was darker than the darkness. And it leaned over. It leaned over and it looked right at me. And I could see him looking at me, this dark shadow. And then it was just like he turned to sand and just blew away. Isn't that crazy? My heart was pounding so fast. And it was like the sense of when he blew away that last time, I knew he was gone for good and he was never going to come back. I don't know if he needed to figure out if I was a good guy or not. I don't know, but from that moment on, I was never worried about seeing him again or him coming back or anything like that. He was just gone for good. So, isn't that crazy? And that was well over 20 years ago, and I remember it like it was just happened yesterday. So amazing. It's funny too, because like I've told my wife that story I don't know how many times, and for a while there when we first got together, my wife and I moved out of that house. Yes, I stayed for a year. I had a year lease, so I stayed the full year, but once that year was up, I was out of there, after, like I said, after that you know instance in the bedroom, I never saw him again or heard him. But you know, it was just time to move on. So I got another apartment. I met my wife, and we lived fairly close to that house. And every time we would drive by there, I'd look at my wife and I'd be like, ooh, you know, and I'd make these scary ghost noises, and she would get so mad at me. She'd be like, "Cut that out," you know, because you know, he's gonna remember you. And I'm like, you know, it's so. Anyway, that's my story, you guys. True story. Like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys have had any ghost encounters or creepy things of that nature, make sure and let me know in the comments. Okay. All right. That's all I've got tonight, you guys. Once again, I hope you enjoyed that story. It's part of my life. I was happy to share with you. Okay. All right. That's it for tonight. Thanks for subscribing. All of your awesome comments. I hope you guys have a awesome day, a great Halloween, and I'll see you next time.